in being that comfortable with it, what I've leaned on more is I love studying it. I love helping others learn their own powers, learn to approve of themselves and see what kind of gifts they have. Because it's the fear of the unknown that causes a lot of trouble.
Welcome to Old God Talks to Me, a podcast dedicated to helping guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. Ladies, if you want to know what your guy is thinking, this podcast is for women too. Each week, a special guest helps you create that life you've imagined. We talk anti-aging medicine, personal growth, relationships and hot sex. Yeah, you hear me, getting laid more frequently, other guy vices, and topics that many don't want to talk about but need to. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to be old. Don't want to miss anything? Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review this podcast. And be sure to go to www.thestandard.academy/magazine and grab a free copy of our new digital magazine, The Standard Academy, where we talk about erogenous zones, growing hair back, and other things that will help you create that kick-ass life. Now get ready to listen up and share with friends.
Now, you worked on a serial killer case also?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
Tell us about that a little bit.
A little bit? Okay. Oh, you're cute. It's the crazy one. I was friends with a lot of the detectives in town by then and their families. And there was Long John Neville. I don't know if you remember him. Long John Neville had a radio show many years before, and I was speaking on it. And a couple at a party came over to me. He was a PhD psychologist. She was a microbiologist. She loved what I said on that show. He thought it was cuckoo. And so I said, okay. It turns out they were best friends with one of my close friends. And a woman, and that woman called me and said, my daughter's best friend, Amy Hoffman, is missing. And immediately I had an impression. I wouldn't share it. She said, why not? I said, because you can't do anything with it. I said, you can tell the police and refer them to Ross English and Mount Olive, and or tell the family to tell the police here. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not entering into it unless I can actually do something. People don't. The one thing I do know, there are people who tell me, just go find them, whoever it is missing. And I'm thinking, you're not looking and you have no idea what it takes for me to do this. And to open up a door I can't do anything with. I can't pick up and fly out there and traipse around. Really? But they insist. And then it's kind of funny how people don't know. So maybe they can think about it, because I jumped in only because I could and was asked. I have no clue. So in this case, I wasn't jumping in. I did not want to deal with it. I saw brutal stabbing all over the body, rape, tortured, and dumped in a reservoir. So the next day, police detective locally had dropped by for something. And I said, why do newspapers lie? Because they found Amy Hoffman's body clothed and fine. I was naive. And he said, I don't know, it's not in our town. Fast forward, Israel O'Brien's killed. I think maybe 10 days later. And detective goes to a task force meeting, comes knocking at my door with his partner. They partner up from different counties. And Captain of Homicide Jimmy Moore from neighboring town, Parsippany, knocks on my door. And he said, tell Jimmy what you saw. So I tell him. He said, well, we just found out from the task force meeting, you're right. Would you mind taking a ride with us? That was one of several rides. In the rides, I started describing a man named James. Last name was Polish descent, begins with a K, ends with an ich, I-C-H, something. Long, maybe three syllables or so. So I started describing what he did, including others who he tried to run off, 5 towns calling him in. How come nobody knows this? I go crazy over a couple of days. Absolutely nuts about, oh my God, what's going on here? Can't they just get him? We drive over. I tell them to drive. I'm pointing. We go into the Mendon Township where the captain is, and they tell him to listen to me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is absolutely crazy, right? And I said, well, you have an officer who stopped a car in the summer and gave it a ticket to a man. And the officer's name starts with a C. And he said, well, we have 2 of them. I said, the hard C, not the soft one. He said, oh, Costanza, Tommy. I said, that's it. He knows who the killer is. He stopped him because he has a unique car. I'm shortening quite a bit of the story because it's long and endless. Mm-hmm. And so many years later, when we were filming the first one, Court TV, Tommy called me. I think it was the first one. Anyhow, and he said, you know, I had that ticket in my drawer and I called the investigating prosecutor who blew me off, which is what I had said all along. And the guy who was the investigating prosecutor still has a distaste for what I have told because he had never done a homicide before. Mm-hmm. He didn't run a task force. He would go in secretly with one other person and talk, and he would never share. So that's part of the case for me. It's not about only how I did something in murder. It's called, for me, it's called ego can kill, because Deirdre O'Brien, had he listened to anybody who called in after Amy Hoffman, Deirdre wouldn't have been killed. And I do have proof about that. So that's part of the case.
Was that killer eventually caught?
Oh, he's away for life. He keeps asking for moving him to another prison because in New Jersey, where he is, he's never getting out anywhere, and he can't steal his way out. He can't bribe his way out. He's done. Mm-hmm. He killed too. One of the things I saw at the time that was proven later is he killed in Florida, went to jail in Florida for murder, and then killed his cellmate. So, and I'm saying this while Jimmy's in the car taking notes, and I said, they're going, Jersey has to sue Florida. How did he get out? The parole board let him out. This is a twice killer, and they let him out to come back. What, are they crazy? And I was right. I was so mad. I can't begin. These young women died because a parole board let out a killer. What is wrong with the system? So for me, it may be, yeah, I'm a psychic detective. I know I am, and I know I'm very good at it when I choose to be. When I choose, I learn my boundaries. I've said no to a lot. I have to, because I have family. I have lots of grandkids. I'm old. Mm-hmm.
So Nancy, when we're talking, sometimes, and you're describing things, scenes, you kind of look away. Are you seeing images, or are you just looking for your? Pardon me?
No, I am there.
Okay, so when you're telling me this stuff, you're actually seeing that. You're looking at the images.
I'm recounting the film.
Okay, all right. So you're seeing, because I noticed your eyes would go. They change different when you start to talk about
absolutely
a crime scene versus when we're just having. And then sometimes people do that for recollection purposes, but you're actually seeing the images.
Actually seeing and hearing and mad again.
Oh gosh.
I am, because I know what we need. There's a guy in New Jersey, Rich Pompelio, who found it. His son was murdered 30 years ago. He's an attorney who became the top crime victim advocate pro bono organization in this country, I think. He worked 10,000 cases. He's an angel. And I was blessed to have somebody I worked with have us talk together in the past year. We've become very fast friends. And he's working with me on what we can do to change things here. Because New Jersey has pretty tough rules, good ones, lots of certification, lots of training for most of the officers. Mm-hmm. It's tough to stay an officer if you don't walk the line right, seriously. I mean, there are some great places that really see to it that before you can handle a gun and a badge, You have incredible training and you continue incredible training. But that's not true of every place.
So now, as you've gotten older, have your abilities changed, gotten better, or gotten worse, or stayed the same?
I would say there's pretty much no difference I've noticed over the years. I'm calmer. I mean, I found it always, but I'm a lot calmer about all of it. I used to get pretty anxious before I gave a reading because I never know. But now I'm comfortable knowing I don't know if I can help or not anything. I just do the best I can and see what happens. So in being that comfortable with it, what I've leaned on more is I love studying it. I love helping others learn their own powers, learn to approve of themselves and see what kind of gifts they have. Because it's the fear of the unknown that causes a lot of trouble. The other day I was writing and I went, oh my God, terrified people make terrible decisions.
Oh yeah, you're under
right?
stress. Yeah.
Right. And the more terrified, the worse the decision. And having worked with all that on my own traumas and other people's traumas for years, I love helping people release themselves from the bondage.
Yeah.
More than I care about the rest.
Yeah, I don't want to make a light. Well, I do. I will make a light moment because I always do. It reminds me of that TV commercial where the guy who's the Freddy Krueger type, and the kids are at the lake house and they run and they always run into. You remember, you know that commercial, right? And they always run into the shed where all those saws are. He makes it like he throws his hands up. He says, and he shakes his head like, why would they do that? That's when you talked about people making bad decisions.
I hardly ever watch commercials, but when I do something like that, and there's another one like that, I'm yelling at the TV and going, oh, why are you so stupid?
Yes, exactly. You would have thought that the concept of Darwinism would clear them out by now.
Humor is very important.
Yeah. So
how can I get through without it? Come on. Yeah.
Do you need accountability? Are you looking to change the course of your life but have failed to keep on track? Too often we take in information and fail to act. Do you need an accountability program to stay the course? Then go to www.thestandard.academy and find out about my accountability program that goes with my course that helps you find out what you want, why you want it, and how to get it. The accountability program keeps you on track to get results.
When you said you deal with various agencies, various levels from local government to, I understand that you deal with all the way up to federal agencies, which you can't really talk about. Okay, as her lips are not even moving, folks. Other than the fact that I acknowledge, and I knew that because I watched an interview that she had. Her lips are not even moving. What was the process of gaining the confidence of the various police officers that you worked with? Because obviously, you know, there's a certain amount of, you know, I'm gonna say, you know, a certain amount of tinfoil, you know, hat here, okay? And I'm not being disrespectful because and like, you put on your tinfoil hat. So
I can talk.
What does that hat say?
That's a captain's hat.
Okay. So and I have a friend who I interview, and he sometimes he's into a lot of stuff, and sometimes I think his tinfoil hat is on too tight. But how did you gain confidence of the police officers that you work with?
The same way, I believe, I became a super successful nurse. I was given to be a director of nursing at 20 if I wanted of a hospital.
Mhm.
I know teamwork. I love teamwork. I don't like being a boss. I like seeing to it the ship runs right in a loving way. So when I worked with the police originally, because I was able to support them, we became very close friends. I was visit them when they retired with their wives. We're close. So just friendship originally. What I found when I was called in by other police, I would start off and say, you don't know me, you don't know how I work, so here's how I work, and here's what I want you to know. Don't tell me a thing. If you have photos you want me to look at, sure, but do not comment. Think of me as somebody who might be able to get a piece of a puzzle that I don't know where it goes and whether it fits. I am part of your team. I'm just a little piece, and maybe I will get something that will nudge a door open. So if you think of me that way, you won't take seriously either way. You'll just take it and see if it's useful or not, or throw it out. That's your job because you're the experts. I'm not. What I am expert at is picky fine points out of the air, and I have no idea whether I can help you or not. So here we go. And we're fine. I've made fast friends with all of them.
You mentioned that, let's talk about other people and their abilities. And you talk about people's ability to shield themselves from negative people. I'm a big believer in very critically picking the people in your life. I've eliminated people in my life, including family members that I consider to be toxic.
Me too.
Close family members. So how do you tell people about shielding from negative people?
Looking back, I went through phases of learning how to shield, let's say, and not knowing, having armor. Armor didn't work. Boundaries work. So what I felt was stop looking at all of them and just stay myself and see if I'm comfortable. If I'm drained, I have to ask myself, and I used to be drained a lot by emotional commentary on my life and odd things. And what I've learned is I can stay at a higher frequency just by being real all the time. And I don't care if you like me or don't. I don't care if you think my work is good or not. If you say, I'm a skeptic, I go, yeah, me too. I question everything. Not a problem. So what I found is I believe very strongly that the people in my life, even in the past, who were really disruptive and disturbing, it's why I got into learning about epigenetics and genetics and ancestral history and traumas in their lives that were secret. And what I simply have done is I don't hang out with people who keep secrets. It's a very simple rule for me. If I feel that you're just too secretive and you're so uncomfortable with yourself, I'm not going to be comfortable with you unless I work with you as a client and that you have given me permission to look, because otherwise, no, I don't need that. My life is a small circle of close people who I trust and love and can play with and have fun and honor. And so respect, and knowing that I get into all kinds of things that are naturally, biologically suited for me in the natural kingdom, which makes me feel very comfortable in keeping me at a frequency. But here's the funny line. I always think of it as a boomerang effect. If I stay me, then they can't intrude in my energy. They can say what they like, they can do what they like, they can't intrude. I'm not changing to suit anybody.
I think that many people don't get their minds quieted enough to allow some of this ability to come true. And I didn't, when I was younger, I did not. But I've I've had an ability to do certain things, which like you said, I don't understand. I can have, just an example, I had one of my closest friends committed suicide. And he was, we were at his house for the wake after, and I sat down and I talked with a person that he was doing business with. And we had a very pleasant conversation. There was lots of alcohol, but we had a very pleasant conversation, reminisce about about Bill and this and that. And I get in the car and I look at my wife and I say, he's going to screw Rhonda, which is the widow. Mm-hmm. And I just felt it. I blurted it out. And sure enough, over a period of several years, he really took a tour financially. And other times I've been walked into a room and there might be 8 empty tables and 4 tables with people in them. And I'd sit down and I'm sitting down next to the person that I need to be sitting down next to. It's just kind of, I've stopped even thinking about it. I just kind of go, if I feel something, I just go with it. Mm-hmm. I just like says, go here. Don't listen.
I think it's no different than my roulette story. There's a calculation we make. Our life experience and the energetic fields, we know they're measurable, right? We know the, 47 hertz for the skeletal system. We know all the measurements, right? But then we take it all as a whole, and the calculation, I believe, and I do believe it's a calculation, is subconscious or unconscious. We make that calculation and we get the results on our conscious self. So you were with him long enough to get this gut feeling, gut instinct, which means you got lots of good bacteria in your gut and your brain loves it. So that's a good thing. Yeah. And I think that has something to do with the ability of sizing up the situation.
Yeah. I think I think that a lot of times if you don't pay attention to that, there have been times I have not paid attention to it and I've paid a price.
Yeah. Oh, I've paid quite a few prices. I'm not going there.
Well, I don't know, by keeping those prices in my forefront, I paid less prices than I did in the past.
Right. Well, that was but isn't that the reason? History repeats itself only if we don't learn from it.
Exactly.
So I've learned from mine, and I remember sitting here not too long ago. All of a sudden, I'm walking in the living room, bursting out laughing, and my husband said, "What's so funny?" I said, "Well, it took 3 husbands to clean up my act." Yeah, I'm married to 33 years now, and he's incredible for me. But it took 3 husbands to clean up my act because I kept walking into kind of molding myself to suit others because my gifts were so weird. So many people backpedal. I had no family for a while at all when I was younger. 0. They all walked away. And I went, I'm still having a great time, but I really wasn't on some part. So what you're saying, yeah. But I think this is common until people realize, as you did, as I did, that there is this unknown component of the calculation of knowing beyond the known.
Right.
And how we get there and why we get there may be different each time even. How do we know? I always likened it to when computers, I worked at the UN on a project and I said, years ago before we had personal computers, I think, and they said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, like CBs, what if a computer can talk to another computer somewhere else where, something happens in a village and they break a bone and nobody knows how to fix it. And they can get on a computer in a hospital in New York. And so they sent me to this group of guys and I was talking to them about it. And they said, yeah, we can do that. I said, oh, you know how? They said, no, but we'll figure it out. And so what I thought is there are things happening beyond our understanding, way beyond our understanding. How do we know so much from the other side also? Every time I'm able to reach the other side, and I tell people, I just want you to tell me about this. I go, I can't guarantee that. I'm not an 8-ball. It is, if I can pick up something, if I'm the right instrument, if they're the right time to do this, then maybe something will come through. But I'm not going to guarantee I can do it. So I think it's all that game that some people put it in a little box for themselves. You don't. And by not putting it in a box for yourself and accepting it, it breaks, I believe it breaks through a lot of old stuff personally. And it lets you settle in and know that you probably were right about a lot of the feelings you got before, and it was proven out.
Yep. So Nancy, tell us about some of the other stuff that you're doing, because I know you work with private clients in terms of your psychic detective business, but there's some other things that you're doing, and like, as I mentioned, we're going to have the links in the
I
show
always,
notes.
well, my private clients aren't all psychic detective. It's more about supporting their life now, whoever they are. And occasionally I'll take a crime case. I won't take a lot of them now. I'm much more interested in gathering people who want to learn.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of classes. I'm going to come up with a couple of workshops. I'm doing, prepping an online course for people who want to learn what I call the sacred soul powers. But I also think the way we do it is be the inner detective, nitpick inside.
Mhm.
It's going into the details and letting yourself pull them out and double check everything and get proof. You know, people will walk around and say, I'm very intuitive. How do you know? How do you know? Oh, because I did. Did you keep a register of all of it? Have you kept a journal on all of it? Have you looked at all of it? Have you dated it? Have you gone back and gotten feedback? Just like you said with what you felt with that Rhonda's unfortunate outcome for her, it was so clear to you, and you told somebody, your wife. So that registered powerfully. But if you had many instances where you wrote down the conversations in your head, and then you go and check them out with others who they were, you find, well, wireless, they really were on your mind.
Mhm.
I did all that for 3 years. I kept journal after journal of everything that happened that was different. It didn't matter what. And I got feedback. I called up. I took everything that were gifts in my home. I held them. I wrote down what I got from them, not understanding any of it. I called up. I didn't take training. I wanted to know when I was in that state, when I'm not. And oh my God, every philosophy was right. Every religion, we're all connected.
Sure.
We are all connected. So I work with animals. I have found lost ponies, missing dogs, missing cats. But what I love teaching is to honor their own and see how I can support them. So I am not a great person at, I've done curriculums. I don't like them. I like to know who the person is and what they need particularly. So I do a lot of private mentoring. I do a lot of classes. I do some workshops. One of them upcoming is being a psychic detective, because I get a lot of inquiries on, well, I want to be that. Well, yeah, and you got to do the work, and there's no guarantee you will get to do anything other than keep your own records so that when you are asked or when you can open up those doors yourself, you're ready.
Mhm.
Because it's ethics, how you integrate as a team. It's not your ego. It's not going to be helpful. In fact, they will not call on you again. I know that.
Sure. Well, Nancy, I want to thank you. This has been fascinating
Oh,
to have you on the program. I appreciate it.
oh,
And
thank you, Russ. You're really incredible. I had no, I had no expectations about who you were. I find you fascinating. Thank you.
well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, folks, into another podcast here, and I want to make sure if you have not already done so, I want you to sign up for my free digital magazine at the standard.academy/magazine. And there's lots of life hacks there, including one secret place to touch a woman. And no, it's not her clitoris, because that's not a secret place. And also why men are pissing in their pants and other helpful lessons. So, and also I want you to subscribe, share, rate, and review. And until next time, remember, it's all about creating a kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love. Until next time.
Thank you for joining Dr. Orest and his incredible guest. Like what you heard and learned? Then be sure to do 3 things. 1. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. 2. Share this with someone who may need to hear it. 3. Leave a review and rate this podcast. Opt in at www.thestandard.academy/magazine and get our free digital magazine with savings, articles, and deeper dives into cool controversy. Be the guy who takes action. Without action, you're not going to get the results you want. Thank you again, and make it a great day.